Okay, so the book that I did was Identity Economics, and it was by George Akerlof and Rachel Cranton. So they have four major parts to the book, 10 chapters, four major parts. The first chapter, or the first part, goes over like introduction stuff, defining terms, and they go over what they call their basic procedure. The second part and the third part are mainly examples, looking at like the effects of identity economics on gender and race, the effects of identity economics on gender, race, and they also go over like social class, and they also like go over like military factor. Like there's a bunch of different examples really, and then the last portion is what they call like looking ahead, and that just looks at the five factors of identity economics, five ways that identity economics will change regular economics, or the identity of an individual can change economics. So to start, the first portion, the big thing out of that is they're, along with defining some terms, but they go over what they call their basic procedure, essentially like the framework for how they've came up with identity economics, or how to apply the identity of an individual to their economic decisions. It starts off with what they call a traditional boilerplate economic model, something simple like supply and demand to find the wage um, for a job. So from there, they have what they call social categories, or like your identity. And so like an example of this would be like a college student, or maybe like a housewife. So like the identity, or an athlete or something. It's just kind of almost like a lifestyle, but how you identify yourself. And then the next one looks at the norms. So what implications does that identity have on your financial decisions, your economic decisions? Um, and then so using those two, finding out what's my identity, what are the norms to fit into that social category, what do I have to do, subconsciously or consciously, and then looking at what is my utility function, and how does the identity, what effect does the identity have on that utility function, what are the gains from having that identity for that utility function, what are the losses of having that identity for that utility function. So I want to go over one example from the book. There's a whole bunch, but I wanted to go over one example. I think it would fit in 5 minutes. So this example is, they label it as the principal and agent. The principal is the company, the agent is the employee, and so a little bit of the assumptions. The employees can exert high effort or low effort, and the company can make high revenue or low revenue. So if they exert high effort, the company will make high revenue. If they exert low effort, the company will make low revenue. The company, the principal, doesn't know what employees exert high effort or low effort. And so from there, they break down into social categories, and they go with two. So they go with the insiders and they go with outsiders. So now an insider is somebody who would take like pride in their work. They get satisfaction, or they get utility from being a part of that company, from fitting into the company culture, or maybe they have other employees that they get along with. But the idea is that they are satisfied, they take pride, they gain utility from working there. An outsider is someone who would treat the job just like a paycheck. So they don't gain utility from working there. And then you look at the effort. So the insider is more likely to put in high effort because they enjoy the job. The outsider is more likely to put in low effort because they don't enjoy the job. So from the company perspective is, how can we maximize revenue? How can I get high revenue? So then it comes into the compensation, like what are you going to pay them? So the insider is less likely to require a high compensation because they're already maximizing their utility function, their identity utility function, by working there because they enjoy their job. So they're not going to really demand much more money to work harder, to exert high effort. An outsider will. So their identity is that they don't really fit with the company. Maybe their identity doesn't fit with the company identity or the corporate values, corporate culture. Maybe they just don't like their job. But in any case, the company has to pay them more. The principal has to pay the agent more to get high effort out of that employee. So the implications for the company there's two that the book covers. One, you need to either change the outsiders into insiders. So changing how they align themselves with the company, give them more pride with their work, And then the other one is to just make sure you're hiring more insiders. So that this is just one example of how they go over and how you can use these social categories by breaking it down to an insider and outsider, and what are the implications, as opposed to treating the entire wage force as just a homogeneous workforce where everyone is an insider, everyone is an outsider, like breaking it down and looking at how the identity affects their work ethic, work effort. Then the last thing is looking at, like I said, looking ahead is the last portion, and that goes into the 5 implications of identity on economics, or how identity can change economics. So one of them is like individual action. How can a person tell what your identity is? Something like a physical appearance. How do you dress? Do you have tattoos? What's your diet? Those types of things. So like their individual action based on their identity and how they can symbolize their identity. Another portion is the externalities. So kind of like looking at an aggregate. What are the positive externalities, negative externalities of these social categories? One of the examples was like smokers. What is the identity of like a smoker? And then like taxing it as like a nudge kind of. And there's like 3 more. The last one is like choosing your identity. And if I had to like sum up the book into like a really good powerful phrase from the book, I suppose, something that really made a lot of sense to me is in here they claim that the most influential or the most important economic decision is your choice in identity, because that's gonna decide, or how many times your identity changes, but that's gonna decide where you fall, as far as like what you spend your money on, what type of activities you like to do, what are your values, who you hang out with. So basically, it's a very good book, and basically it looks at how does the way an individual aligns themselves with a social category. Are they an insider? Are they an outsider? Or other things? Are they male? Are they female? Are they one of the high school examples was, are they a jock or are they a burnout? So it's just looking at how an individual can, their financial decisions change, their economic decisions change based on the way they identify themselves. So that's my video.